You are now listening to Creator Corner.
Welcome, everybody, to Creator Corner. I'm Dalia.
And I'm Mary.
And we're super pumped about our guest today. Really excited to welcome Deyci Carrillo Lopez. She describes herself as a proud product of Guanajuato, Deep East Oakland, in Mexico. But we're really excited to dive into a conversation about her latest Spanglish poetry collection, Entre la Miel y el Juego. Just learn a little bit more about her creative process. Welcome, Deyci.
Thank you both for having me here today. I'm very excited to just share about this journey and like the way that words have helped me reclaim my power in this life that I'm living here. So I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for making the time for me to come.
Yeah, Deyci, we're super excited to have you here and chat more about your creative process. But just to get us in the vibes, in the zone, we do have just a couple rapid fire questions for you. The first being, can you share what your craziest open mic experience been?
I guess with that question, I would have to ask, how do you define craziest? Because I feel like there's every open mic has been very special, but I think actually the craziest one in a very positive way has been the Raíces one, actually, because folks came up to my table and they shared that they came to see me perform, and I was like so like humbled, and like my heart felt really full, and I was like, oh my god, like you made the time to come see me, like out of your day where you could have been anywhere else. And like just hearing people really coming to want to hear words that I speak in person, like that was surreal. Like I feel like I'm still having those moments, and I hope that I still continue to have those moments as I continue this journey. But that right there was like, wow, like that's crazy, you know.
That is. Yeah, and I know we use that term loosely, but I think that was a beautiful way to how you define that crazy emotional experience for you when people were coming up to you and saying, hey, I came here for you, and it's amazing to hear you. And our second question is, in caveat, we know you've opened up for Miss Rupi Kaur before, but if you can open up for another poet, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good question. I would like to collaborate and open with Jessica Salgado.
Yes.
Her work is amazing. I had the opportunity to see her live in San Jose at Nirvana Cafe about 2 years ago. And I would love to collaborate with her and share space and community and energy with her. So one day here's this episode. Jessica, that really happened.
We'll slide in her DM.
Yeah, Ruby happened because I shot my shot. So that's what I've been doing these days. Like I've been hitting people on through DMs, and I'm like, if they open it or not, that's a whole different story. But like, just trying, like that's already like a big step. So I will be shooting her this interview through the
We got you.
Wow, that's amazing that you sent that DM, and then you were starting. Was it the Paramount? I think it was the Paramount. Was it?
It was a Paramount. So that one actually wasn't through DM. It was they were accepting opening acts for her world tour, and I sat there and thought a little bit about it. Like, should I send something? Should I not? And that's when I was like, well, if I don't send something, I for sure don't even have a chance. If I send something, like it could be considered, And then I got that email as I was like working throughout the day, and I was like, damn, the power of shooting your shot. Shoot your shot, folks.
That's right.
I love that. It's an amazing story. But Deyci, something that you mentioned, here at the beginning was that poetry and writing really help reclaim your power. And so I would love to hear a little bit about, what was your initial process, getting started? What were some of the first memories that you have writing words on paper and creating poetry?
Yeah, it's crazy because this goes back to my 8th grade math class. I
Math
remember
class.
yes, I remember sitting in the back. I was done with my work, and I remember just sitting there, and it was at the time where I had just learned that I was undocumented, and I had a lot of questions. I'm like, what does this even mean? Like, what you mean I don't got a man number? Where can I get one? Like, and it was in that class where I wrote the first piece that I now perform first whenever I'm performing to tell a little bit about my story. And I remember just sitting in that class writing it, and being just like so confused about what the hell was happening in my life at that moment. And so I date back to that time.
Wow. So in math class, you're like, I need to write because I'm trying to figure out what this means for me, what does my identity mean to me. So that's beautiful that you're using this class to try to just process what you're feeling through writing and through words. And I think when we talk to creators and artists, Deyci, they always mention like community, a tribe. And we know how much, based on just your work, like how much your artistry is revolved around your community. But can you share a little bit more about like how does your community truly inspire your artistry to write your poems?
Yeah, I mean, they're the basis of everything. Like even this project, I I I am very proud of where I come from. I am very proud of my identity. I am really proud of um, all the spaces that I've touched and that have touched me, and welcomed me. And through my writing, like I really want to portray those positive aspects of the communities that I serve in, because they're always trying to tell us who we are, who we aren't. And it's like with my writing, it's like the opportunity to say no, like like I say who I am, like I define who I am, not you. When it comes to when I write about my undocumented community, growing up undocumented, I come from my personal experience, and I hope people can relate. The undocumented experience is different for everybody, so I do want to say that like I speak from my experience, and I hope people are able to connect and are able to be inspired by it. So through touching on that topic, like I try to touch on like owning back my power, like this is why I'm powerful, this is why like my community matters, when I talk, there's a chapter in my book, the fourth chapter called El Panal. Right there's where you'll find mostly all that poetry about community, and I even took on stories of folks who I've worked with inside immigration detention, stories that I felt deserve to be heard, because they're stories of resilience and power, and people who reclaim their power and reclaim their agency. When I talk about Mexico, like I want to highlight Mexico and all its beauty, like all its culture. Like Mexico is often in the headlines for the violence that's going on over there, but like we're so rich in culture and history, and I'm still learning even that history myself. As someone who grew up here, I feel like I am very disconnected from like my roots. So I made it this year a priority to be connected and learn the knowledge that the ancestors had, and like pass that knowledge on from generation to generation. And then when it comes to Oakland, same thing. We're often in the headlines for like not the most positive things. And like with my work and with my words, I want people to know that Oakland has magic that needs to be tapped to, magic that comes from the youth, and needs to be allocated for that magic to bloom. So whenever I'm collaborating, like I want to make sure all of that comes up. Whenever I'm writing, I want to make sure I highlight all those things that often are overlooked because people are looking at the negatives. And so when I'm writing, I want people to look at the positives at the beauty, and at the richness of all these communities.
Definitely. I think you've definitely touched on the pieces of not only preserving the culture of the ancestors and what's being passed down, but using your poetry and your words as a form of expression. But can you dive a little bit deeper on how you view your art as a form of political expression per se?
Yes. Well, my existence is political. Like,
Yes.
this issue
Yes.
is always, the issue of immigration is always on the news. It's always being talked about. They are telling us, asylum is not a right. They're telling us that, we must remain separated by borders. So with my writing, I want to let them know, no, like, like your systems will be abolished. Your systems will be crumbled down because immigration is a natural act. Migration is an natural act. Like, I mean, butterfly is a big symbol of the migration journey. Who are we to tell nature where it can go and where it can't go? We are proud of that. We are part of that and proud of that. Like, we are humans. Like, let's not forget that all these things that are on paper were made up, and that's the craziest shit. Like, all this stuff is made up. Like, and people take it like, I'm like, just as it was made up, it could be undone. Best believe it will be. And so, with my writing, I hope to inspire people to. I am an abolitionist. I will say it here and up front. So with my writing, I really hope to inspire people to think about what that means for our community, the visions that we can create in the world, that we can actually create for all of us to thrive, succeed, and live like the lives that we were meant to live in this planet. Like we're on a floating rock, like
what?
Like we're in a floating, like what is going on in this planet? Like, yes, I hope I answered your question. Maybe I went on a rant, but
no,
but yeah.
You definitely answered the question, Deyci, and you're absolutely right that these systems of oppression are robbing us of our joy, and they are making us forget the magic that exists within us. So I think it is so powerful that essentially in your art you are creating these spaces that transcend political structures, economic structures, all these white supremacist structures that are in place. You're creating a space that is beyond that with your art, and by bringing together just the intersectionality of all your identities as a young undocumented woman from Guanajuato with roots in deep East Oakland. So that is incredibly powerful. And something that is amazing and that I've noticed, as I mentioned, I'm a fan, I've been following you on Instagram, is how intentional you are about the spaces that you are performing. I saw that you've been at Sonoma State, at the Dream Center, at UC Santa Cruz, at their Undocumented Center as well. You mentioned Raíces in Berkeley. Why is it so important for you to be intentional about the spaces that you are performing and sharing your art in?
It's important for me because I want folks in those spaces to know that we matter, that we're here, and that they're not alone. For the longest, like I was open about sharing that I was undocumented in high school, but for the longest, until the day that we had to fill out the Dream Act, I didn't know that there was other students who were also dreamers, and I was like, like I'm here thinking I'm like going through this alone, and like there's other folks who are also going through this, and again, like everyone's journey to share that they're undocumented is like different, and I totally respect that. But what I'm trying to get to here is like I felt like I was going through that alone, and if I would have known like that there was other people like that were also having these questions, that were also wondering what their future was going to look like, I don't know, like I felt like things would have been a little bit different. And so when I think about the spaces that I want to touch, the spaces that I want to go to, I want to let people know that like that our existence matters, like they're not alone, and that like whenever they're ready to share their story, like we'll be here in community to hold each other, and get through this together. And the Dream Centers have been very, very graceful and like open to like bringing me to share my story. So I want to thank all those individuals who have opened the door for me, because this project really is a community project. My existence is a community project. Like I have mentors everywhere, like, who have plugged me in, who have taught me things that some like who have laced me up with knowledge, and so I I thank everyone who's giving me that opportunity, and I hope that when I'm coming to these spaces, we're all creating like, a safe space for us, in community, to share the magical words and to hold our power together and know that like we are stronger together. And so that's why it's important for me to show up in these spaces, and that's why I have made it a priority to be the first round of spaces that I want to touch.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. Right. La unión hace la fuerza. That's what came to mind when you were speaking. But yeah, that is incredible. Just bringing together these spaces where people feel seen, people feel represented in union. I think a lot about, like dreamers, and there's even folks that don't even qualify as dreamers, that are still undocumented, that are still out here, going and pursuing higher education and not knowing exactly what that will look like afterwards. So, just having these spaces on campus, spaces that, you get to perform, and, in being seen, also empowering others to be seen. So that's incredibly beautiful, Deyci.
Thank you.
Definitely.
And as I've been sharing with folks, I've been seeing like the way that, where the words touch folks, and like thus after, like that's a lot what's come out of, like, I felt seen through your words, and if I can inspire that one person, like, with my writing, like I've already done my job, so thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I think the word that resonated with me was like utmost intentional solidarity in these spaces, and with that, I think you definitely touched on like having so much community, mentors, femtors, your community really bringing your artistry to form. And speaking of artistry, your latest book, Entre la Miel y el Fuego, we want to dive in a little bit about this product of yours. So can you share more about what that collaboration process really looked like for you in bringing this baby of yours in fruition? You can touch on whether the artwork, the publishing piece, or anything you'd want to share about that collaborative process to get Entre el Miel y el Fuego physically on your hands.
Yes, I'll touch on that. First, I want to give a shout out to VACR, because they were the ones who helped me bring this baby to life. I did a program where they train undocumented creatives to run a business, put a business together, and so that's where this idea came out. So I want to thank them for like the energy they poured into like making sure that like I felt supported as I was like planning out this project. The book is last year's worth of poetry collection. So it's the last year's worth of new writing. The cover is made by someone who was in immigration custody. His name is Eddie. Shout out to Eddie for like collaborating on this project. Eddie is an artist from San Diego. Eddie was hiding his magic, y'all. He was hiding it. And I saw one piece that he made, and I was like, wait, that's you? And he's like, yeah, that's me. And I'm like, boy, what is you doing?
Right?
Like, why are you not, showing people that you can do this stuff? And it's like, I don't know. And as I learned more about Eddie, it was one of those stories where like he had never been told, this is freaking magical what you're doing here. And so with the collaborations also that I'm doing, I want to make sure people know that there's so much like talent tapped into out there that must be exposed. And so I asked them like, were you down to collaborate and make my cover for my book? Like, oh yeah, I'm down. And so he made my cover, and we did a collab, and I really wanted to bring art to visible. Eddie won his case. He's now out in the community, memories with his family and those he loves. So big shout out to Eddie. And as I'm doing this interview, actually, if there's a community in San Diego who is down to host a book reading, let me know, because I really want to bring Eddie into those spaces. So people are also building a community and exposing his art in those spaces. So let me know. So that's about the And then the photography side is by my homegirl Esmeralda. So East Oakland photographer. I also wanted to plug her into the work and like give her some exposure, and like this is all a community project, honestly. The proofreading of the Spanish, because it's a Spanish collection, was by my high school Spanish teacher, Ms. Matia. Big shout out to Ms. Matia, because I just hear her hella randomly. I was like, hey, Matia, and oh my gosh, she was so open to helping me out and making that happen. So thank you to everybody who has put their little granito de arena, to making it happen, because it really has been a community project. And that's my baby. That's a little bit about Entre la miel y el fuego.
That is so incredibly beautiful, the way the community came together to bring this project forward. From your teacher, Spanish teacher, to Eddie, to your friends, it really is a community effort. When it's beautiful when we can support each other, uplift each other, and just fully support. In terms of we talked a little bit about the importance of your art representing your intersectionality as undocumented young woman from Guanajuato, from East Oakland. And we talked a little bit about the representation there and why it's so important that with folks that are connecting with your work. I'm curious to understand, what are some emotions, I guess, that you're hoping folks that are hearing you speak, that they are resonating with as you are, in an open mic experience or reading some of your poetry?
Could you repeat the question again to make sure I got it right?
Yeah. Was curious to understand, what are some of the emotions that you're hoping folks connect with as they're hearing you read your art or they're a part of your open mic?
Some emotions that I'm hoping people could connect with is their power, how much power they have, and whether you are undocumented, not a woman, not a person of color, not impacted by the system in whatever way, like I still think there's so many ways that you can connect to my writing and understand, knowing that you hold power, that you're bigger than the storms that are that sometimes come into our lives. Like so you also see that in my book. There's a chapter on love and there's a chapter on heartbreak. So I just want us to all know that there's while many want to highlight the differences that divide us, it's the human experience that unite us. And while if we focused more on that, who would the power that we would all have, because it means we would all connect with each other at a true human level and not at the exchange of what can you do for me, what can I do for you type of thing. Because in this capitalistic world, that's what it's become. So I really hope that with my writing, people can remember their humanity, can remember their power, and can remember that they matter. Because every single person here matters.
That's right. Yeah, that's beautiful, Daisy. And I think when you're just expressing these emotions of just the human experience, and that is the core of what of this book, or just at the core of what you as an artist, as a poet, wants to get at, is hey, we're gonna connect through a human experience. And I think that's a beautiful way to do it. I'm also curious, Daisy, so when we speak with other artists and creators, I like to understand a little bit about their creative juices and how that comes about. So you as a poet, is it oh, I have an idea, let me get a pencil and paper to just jot down this idea? Or is it more of oh, let me sit down and I'm gonna write this poem? Can you talk more about how you get your creative juices flowing as an idea might be coming up to your mind, or as you have a spark of oh, that's a good poem? Can you just dive a little bit more about that?
Yes, so I feel it's a mixture of everything you touched on. Sometimes when I can't go to sleep, I'm okay, let me get a pen and paper. What am I feeling? Why am I my mind can't shut down right now? Sometimes I might be outside and I'll write something on my notes, my phone notes. Other times my writing is inspired so much by music. So my first one of my very first pieces, when I wrote for my mom, was inspired by Tupac's poem
wow.
I love Tupac. I felt like it was too soon for him to go. And I feel like that was my soulmate. But he just so deep, like, you know. And so he inspired. He inspired. Well, my mother also. You know, my mother inspired that piece. But like, after hearing his, I was like, man, I want to write something for my mom. And I'm gonna put down things I never told my mom that I want her to know. And when I that piece it's a mixture of English and Spanish. But when I was translating to her in Spanish, I was fucking bawling. I was like, oh my god. So it's my writing also has been like a healing, like of letting those things out that, you know, we're told not to talk about. Things that growing up, you know, in a Mexican household, you were like, you don't talk about that you don't talk about that. What happens inside the door, you don't talk about. You know, that's family matters. So inspired by music a lot. My last piece that I just wrote for Mexico, it's inspired by a piece that I heard by Scarface and I think another two artists. They're highlighting different parts of Mexico, and I was like, damn, this is hard. This sounds hard. So I was like, I think I could spit something for Mexico. And so I tried. I think it was good. But so music inspires me. Sometimes I just sit down and I'm like, let's get something on paper. Sometimes I'm feeling too much and I'm like, I want to be done feeling this. Let me put it down and like past it. And yeah, that's a little bit about that.
No, that is wonderful. And I don't know why I had like a funny thought there, because I was like, not you cheating on Daddy Yankee.
Two pieces in my
That's hilarious.
You gotta say why you're saying that. So you follow me on Instagram. I'm obsessed with Daddy Yankee.
That's hilarious.
I'm gonna be Daddy Yankee one day. Anyone hearing this, if Daddy Yankee wants to collab on writing a song, I won't even charge him. It'll just be like in connection in space with him. Daddy Yankee, I love you. So yeah, he has inspired two of my pieces in my book. I think those two pieces are in my third chapter, I want to say, my third chapter in my book, and it was from his new album actually. So his new album, I felt like he went back into some of the original Daddy Yankee, actually rapping, talking about like leveling up, talking about coming from the mud but making it, and like, you know, sharing still with community, because Daddy Yankee is very much a very proud Puerto Rican, and like he gives back to his community. He loves his community, and so there's a couple pieces in the book inspired by him too.
No, I thought that was so funny. Not us ignoring his whole ass wife.
I respect it.
I'm kidding.
Oh man.
Yeah, Daisy, but as we're wrapping up our conversation today, you know, I would love to hear what advice you have for other young women that are looking to reclaim their power, their agency through writing and poetry.
That's a very important question. When people come up to me and share that they also write, and that they've also thought about writing a book, I'm like, do it. I'm like, I said, shoot your shot, put your work out there. So like, if that's something you want to do, believe in it. Because also, like, everybody else can believe in it, but if you don't believe in it, that's where you're gonna get stuck. So believe in your work, because you're writing it for a reason. Best believe somebody will resonate and connect with it. I think there's spaces and communities for everyone. Like, I don't believe in being in competition with people. I think, you know, what's meant for you is meant for you, and what's not meant for you was already written by the stars to not be meant for you. So I encourage anyone who's writing to share, anyone who's thinking about writing a book, to put it out there. And actually, I realized I didn't touch a little bit about how the actual physical book came to be. So this book is not published. This book is just printed. So believing in yourself and believing that I didn't want somebody else to tell me this work is good, so we're gonna publish it, because I know my work is good. So I was like, okay, so how can I make it happen to just at least get it out there first? And then if a publisher comes to me later, like, okay, we'll work around that. I looked up a website where you can print books. I don't know if y'all know those websites where you can print your photographs as books.
No.
Found one, put the cover together, put the spine, the back cover, all the inside together in a PDF, uploaded it, and they did the printing, and then they shipped it to my house, and I so believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. We believe in you already, so believe in yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Deyci. I think to your point, it's just like just as cliche as it sounds, just fucking do it. Just write your thing and put it out there, and who knows? Like, and it doesn't matter as long as you know for yourself. It's like it's for you. It's not on nobody else, but it's for you. And people along the way who's reading and listening are gonna come out there. But at the end of the day, it's just for you. So why not just get your stuff out there for sure?
Exactly.
And I guess with that, Deyci, like, can you share what's next? Like, what projects or performances are lined up for you, and where we're gonna see you next?
Yeah. So, I am actually working on a second book. Hopefully,
that's right.
Collaborating with my boy Pedro, who is currently fighting his immigration case. We are with you, Pedro, and I thank you for sharing your magic with the world through your art. And so that project is building itself steadily right now, and I will be popping up at a couple spaces in the next couple weeks. My next one is next Saturday in Los Altos, California, in a very intimate cafe. So Tal Palo Cafe in Los Altos. So if you want to come see me, come through there. But also, I will be at a plant shop on Planter Day in Oakland. So if you're in front of Bay, you want to come through, check me out on Instagram, Pura Vida 510, where I'll be putting the links to tickets to those events. And for the Planter Day event, all proceeds actually go to the Alameda Crisis Support Center. And I want to thank Matt and Yumi for being so down and to opening their space to me, bringing me back again to share the magical words and community. And to everyone who's giving me the opportunity, thank you. And yeah, to learn more about those events, you can follow me as Pura Vida 510 on Instagram.
Yes, definitely worth a follow. That's where I keep track of Deyci's events. Deyci, last quick question here. If you could describe your creative process in 5 words, what would those words be?
All 5 would be magic.
Magic, 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 magic.
Yes, I love that.
5?
I live by that word. I believe it so much, and it's so much to unpack with that word. And it's just magic and juice. Then magic and juice. 4 magics, 1 juice.
4 magic and a juice. Love that.
It's juicy. So I'm always so juiced to pour feelings, thoughts, emotions into words, share it, and see people connect with them. So that's what I'll say.
You're just always so juiced to create magic.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
So awesome. And I think just to wrap up, and I know you've mentioned your socials, but can you repeat your socials again and where our audience can find you?
Yes, you can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter as Pura Vida 510.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Deyci. You are such a incredibly humble and grateful person, and it comes across in this conversation, and just sharing the space with you. So really, thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about your creative journey, and just allowing us to hear you and hear your words, because it has been a very lovely conversation.
No, thank y'all both for the invitation, for everyone who's making this collaboration happen behind the scenes. We see you, we value you, and so thank you for the invitation, and it's really been an honor and being in this safe space with you, because I think we can create other spaces, but if they're not safe, that's another topic to talk about. But
yeah.
Thank y'all for creating that and for the invitation.
Thank you, Deyci. Really appreciate you, your time, and your energy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Creator Corner is a podcast production presented by the Ars Network. It is hosted by Dalia Zaragoza and Mary Figueroa. This podcast is edited and produced by Muhammad Abdullah Kawish.